Welcome back to Mornings with the Mandalorian, the show where we talk about our first reaction, filmmaking techniques, and connections to the greater Star Wars universe within the Emmy Award-winning show, The Mandalorian. Now streaming on Disney Plus. I'm your host Spencer Chandler, here with my co-host Christian Miller. How's it going?
It's pretty good. It's been a long weekend. A lot of stuff to discuss with this episode.
It's been a long weekend for me too, but not Star Wars related.
Well, you've had time to binge Rebels, though.
Yeah, I have. I've been very much binging Rebels, so this has been a very Star Wars week, but maybe not the weekend itself, I guess. How many times did you watch this episode?
3 times, except for the little clips that I was watching before we started recording.
Like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a good week. How about you?
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving is it's not normal this year. Sort of things going on with coronavirus is preventing us from seeing our whole family, but we sort of managed a way of doing that safely. And for the least part, it was a good time with my family.
So it wasn't a good time with you?
No, it's just certain parts of our family are like. It just sometimes there's conflict and sometimes there's not conflict, but you're just like, I don't want to be here.
I understand. I had 4 Thanksgivings.
Dang. Technically I had 3.
Yeah, I had 2 with my family on Thursday and on Saturday, and then I had 2 with Katie's family on Thursday and Friday. So we had that. And then Sunday was like my first Sunday home, like going to church and everything, so it was pretty busy. And then yesterday and today, I just binge watched Rebels. Because for those of you who don't know, I binge watched Clone Wars during Corona because I had never seen it. And so now I'm binge watching Rebels because I've also never seen it. So, and it's really good. I really like it a lot. And I really did it once. We had the name drop at the end of this episode. That's what made me want to do it because I wanted to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can binge watch all 4 seasons in a week. That's fine. I've watched 10 seasons of Friends in 3 weeks.
Didn't you start Rebels a few months ago, though?
Yeah, but I only got through 3 episodes.
Oh.
Yeah, I only got through 3 episodes of that. And so I was like, I need to actually just buckle down and watch it. Yeah. And so I would do other stuff like look at memes while watching Rebels or play 2K while watching Rebels. But overall, yeah, I just watched Rebels the past 2 days. Didn't really do a whole lot. I decorated for Christmas today. Mm-hmm. That was pretty epic. But yeah, that's about it. It feels like forever since we recorded. It feels like it's been like 2 weeks.
It's been a week. Just an even 7 days.
Yeah, it feels like longer though for me. I don't know. This whole week went by really slowly for me.
Yeah.
Because I did a whole lot of stuff. Should we just get right into how we watched this episode?
Alright, yeah. I'll bite.
Alright, I'll go first because mine's really simple.
I'll bite, Spencer. What is Star Wars?
What is Star Wars?
Like, what is this sort of thing that we do?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Alright, that's kind of vague, but I'll accept it.
Whatever you want Star Wars to be, that's what it should be. I don't know where I was going with that. But I'll start off with the way I watched this episode. I first watched this episode on Saturday. Yeah, I went and watched it with Katie again. We were both very excited to see Ahsoka because we both knew it was happening.
Hold on. Let's tackle this. Okay. I want to know how you deal with the 24 hours plus at which you haven't seen the episode, and does that eat at you?
I stay off social media so much. I literally cannot get on TikTok. I can't get on Instagram. I can't get on Snapchat. And for a day, last week, I had to wait till Sunday. And so I was off social media and off Twitter for 2 days. And I was like, I can't. It does eat at me because I really want to watch. Because technically there's nothing stopping me from laying down, watching it, and then telling her I have not watched it yet. But I also am not a liar, so I don't do that. And I also,
Oh, okay. So yeah, if you're trying to wait to see it with another person, then that takes the edge off.
Yeah, makes it a little easier, but it also makes me just really want to watch it more.
Yeah. With me, there's nothing stopping me from staying up till 3 a.m. First of all.
I almost did. I tried, but I fell asleep at like midnight. I could not stay up. I was so tired because of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And we'd like to apologize because we don't know what's happening with our audio right now. Sometimes we just get funny little clicks like that, and we're gonna try to like keep those to a minimum. But if you hear that, that's my bad. We're gonna try to get that fixed by next week. Anyway, this week it was much harder for me to not watch the episode, considering I knew that Ahsoka was gonna be in it. I was like, I just want to watch it so bad. But no, I waited until I watched it with Katie on Saturday, and we were both very excited about it. We watched it like as soon as I got to her house Saturday morning, and then as usual, I watched a bunch of little short video clips about people's likes.
It's okay if you like admit that you use TikTok. You know that, right?
Well, no, I'm talking about YouTube videos as well.
Oh, okay.
No,
I thought you were trying to like vaguely describe the experience of watching TikTok videos.
No. I do watch TikTok videos about it because TikTok is actually pretty good for a geek. Like it's pretty good for like just people giving their really short opinions. But I also watch YouTube videos about like people's dislikes and people's likes and stuff like that. And then I read an article or two about it this week, as usual. What about you?
So, yeah, I told you Thursday night I was like, I'm staying up till Ahsoka hours, like I have to, and so I played 2K for a little bit, and then around like 1 a.m., maybe 2 a.m., I started watching John Wick 3, which is, a side note, it kind of feels a little bit like Mandalorian. There's kind of some similarities.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, because my family's cable service had like a free thing of like HBO channels for like 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to like catch like the HD, like full on like widescreen commercial free presentations of movies. And so that's what was holding me over until 3 a.m. And like right at 3 a.m. I was like switching over to Disney Plus and caught the episode. And I was so excited that I was dancing during the theme song. And like I wasn't even sitting back on the couch, like I was like leaning forward, like paying attention, and I was like, what? I was trying to get closer to the screen to like see what was going on.
Yeah,
and
I understand.
So like yeah, that's even if I don't stay up till 3 a.m. I normally have like an individual first viewing, and I know that because of like work schedules or just not being as invested, I'll catch another viewing with my sister or my dad. But that actually didn't happen. I didn't watch it with either of them. They just... Sometimes my dad's just, like, reclusive, and he'll just, like, go off and watch it by himself and not tell me. But on Friday, I was doing Thanksgiving with my brother and his recent newlywed wife. I don't know what you call it. His girlfriend that he married this spring. That's not a good way to phrase it because I love her, and it's kind of rude to say that like that. But anyway, I got to meet her family, and then we went back to their place at around like 7 at night, and I watched it with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was fun to see it with him because he's not as familiar with Ahsoka or Clone Wars or Rebels, but he still had a good time watching it, and it was like his favorite episode of the show.
I mean, I understand. I really liked it as well. Is it about time for synopsis time?
Sure, man.
As opposed to usual, I have prepared my synopsis ahead of time, and Christian helped me prepare it to make sure I didn't leave anything out, because if you guys paid attention last week, I kind of left out the whole part of Baby Yoda being put in the school for the synopsis. That was a big plot point, so I will not miss anything this week. Maybe. Hopefully. Alright, so we start off this lovely episode with seeing Ahsoka just absolutely take out some people, like just going ham. Like she's going pretty violent too. Like she cuts a tree in half and then pushes part of it at a guy to like knock him out. Pretty epic. And we see that she is trying to like get control or kind of like take better control of this town that's been taken over by Morgan Elsbeth and her people. And so that is when we get the title card of The Mandalorian and the
Jedi, Chapter 13.
The Jedi, Chapter 13. And The Mandalorian is coming over the horizon of this planet toward, wow, I totally forgot the name of the planet until just now, Corvus, where he lands and he kind of searches for Ahsoka a little bit, going into the city. to try.
Caladan.
Yeah, and he gets told that that he is wanted at the palace place ish. Is it a palace? It kind of looks like one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so he's told he's wanted at the palace. So he goes, and this is where Elsbeth talks to him and says, "Hey, I'll give you a bunch of monies if you go kill the Jedi because she's a pain in my rear end." And so he goes, "Okay," and in return she will give him a Beskar spear that she has. So he goes out trying to find Ahsoka, but too bad she finds him first. And they kind of go at it for a second. And yeah, they go at it until he goes, "Hey, I was sent to kill you, but you're Ahsoka Tano. I have Jedi boy. I have."
Or he says he was sent by Bo-Katan.
Yes, he says sent by Bo-Katan. She goes, "Okay, I know that name. Cool beans." And then they get to talking about Baby Yoda, who we then figure out his name is actually Grogu. When she does a little like force sensing with him, force talking with him, and so she then she tries to get him to use the force, but he can only do it like when Mando tells him to do it, or like he connects with Mando in a way. So she says that his attachments are too much for her to train him, but he will help her take over the city. So they go in and do like this cool elaborate plan where they pretend Mando's dead. They take over the city from Morgan Elsbeth, and by the end of it, she still refuses to train Grogu. But instead, she tells him to take him to a planet, Christian planet name?
Titan.
Thank you. And put him on top of the mountain there, and or on the temple.
Speaking of, did you see the fight with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I did. It was bad. Anyway, so then she said that he will, if he should be trained, a Jedi will come to train him. Then he leaves, and she's kind of left there, and everybody's like, why is she not going with him? Because we want to see more Ahsoka Tano, but we understand. She has this new liberated town that she needs to take care of, and Mando takes the spear?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Takes the spear.
Ahsoka gives him the spear at the end, because that was his prize, and it's made of Beskar, so give it back to the Mandalorians.
That's one way to think of it. But we'll get back into the speculation part.
And synopsis. I did it.
Yeah, man, you did the synopsis in like 2 minutes.
I mean, that's probably one of the quicker ones I've done.
Yeah.
Alright, so Christian actually has a lot more notes than me this week, which is kind of surprising because most of the time it's me that has more notes than him.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of things to reckon with after this episode.
Yeah? What was that?
Just sort of like, there's some weird parts to the episode. I won't put it all on Ahsoka because, I don't know, it's anytime there's like this weird sort of reinterpretation,
yeah,
it's a lot to like sort through and form my opinion, especially because I was seeing lots of positive reactions and a few negative reactions.
Mm-hmm.
But also her involvement in this episode sort of causes ripple effects to other things.
Well, let's start out with the easiest question. What do you think of the name Grogu?
So what does my notes say?
Well, what do you think of it now? Because I will say that at first I did not like it, but the more they kind of said it, the more I liked it.
So what I have is I like the idea of having quiet night scenes that focus on Grogu and feel meditative. Also Grogu. Yeah, Grogu. That's what I wrote. So I like Grogu.
So you like it?
But I also shorten it to Baby Grogs.
Baby Grogs?
Yeah.
I like that.
It feels like something an Australian would say.
Does this mean we can't call him Bada anymore?
We haven't called him Bada since like the
last season.
Like we stopped doing it within that season.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like Grogu. At first I didn't like it. Katie didn't like it either. But I think by the end of it we both like came around to it and we were like, yeah, I like that name. Especially when you compare it. I'm surprised they didn't do a Y name, but I'm glad they didn't. Because I think it maybe had been too much. It would have been too much like, hey, yeah, all the people at this have been Y name.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Grogu. What other things do you have that are like easy, like big time questions?
Well, I don't. But okay, so my first we have to do our reactions though, because after we just did the our experience watching it, and so I had like an almost entirely positive reaction to this episode.
Me as well.
And so, let's just start off with that. So yeah, I stayed up to Ahsoka hours. That's part of the factor, I guess, is that I was just so buzzed by the fact that I was seeing this. And so just like seeing her was just like a huge rush, and being able to like just see another thing with Ahsoka was really cool. And so I liked the choreography, the effects put into her lightsabers, and I liked that her like fighting was. It's sort of like with the sequel trilogy, where they mixed the styles of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Where it feels dynamic and energetic like the prequels, but it's also grounded in like practicality and simplicity, like the OT. I need to mention this though. So as we're talking about like first reactions and like just any sort of strong feelings right out of the gate, like if you're listening to this, any feelings you have are valid. Like especially if, I mean, we talked a little bit like last week about the controversy with Rosario Dawson, and if seeing her in this episode infuriated her just from the real life and like things that are going on with her, or if maybe you have a strong attachment to Ashley Eckstein and maybe you wanted her to be at least more respected than that, in terms of how Lucasfilm was sort of shifted onto another actress, or just in general Ahsoka just being in this different representation in this show, like whatever, like just whatever feeling, we're not going to judge you about that unless you're saying that she shouldn't be played by a black woman, which is obviously, I don't know what to tell you, you're just racist. Because I feel like throughout the shows, like Ahsoka is sort of clearly a woman of color.
I think as well. I thought somebody was like that they liked Rosario Dawson, but they also were like, oh, but the original actress would sound like her, and I was like, yeah, but the original actress might sound like her, but isn't the original actress white? Yeah. The one who plays her. I was like, yeah, Ahsoka's not white. Like as much as like, as she sounds like it, but she's not. Like, yeah, I
don't even. It's not because she's orange. It's not like she can't identify as it. It's just more just like, it's like, I don't know, that a lot of people of color, women of color, just connected so strongly with her, and it's just sort of been a thing where like like a community reacts so strongly to something that they just sort of make it their own. Yeah. And they point out things that they connect with, so it might as well be that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so with that regard, Rosario Dawson was a good casting.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm not sure about the timeline. I don't know if she was cast after her lawsuit or not, but I don't know. Like it's a weird thing because we don't know. There was something addressed in a Vanity Fair article, which if I know you were prepared more for this episode, I would have assumed that you'd read it, but I guess not.
Nope.
But she actually, like, there was actually like this. I mean, it's something that hasn't happened all throughout the show. Is that immediately after an episode dropped, Filoni did interviews, and he talked to Anthony Breznican of, how am I gonna get it right? I hope it's Vanity Fair. It might be Hollywood Reporter. But they talked about the episode, like, just throughout many things in the episode, and I don't know. Rosario Dawson just sort of did like a typical like political answer, just saying that like, well, if you know me, I was raised a certain way, and I definitely, the allegations aren't true, and the lawsuits were dropped, so they can't really say anything against that. Like, it didn't really, like, it didn't seem like entirely honest or entirely validating. We have to really like wait for the results, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Moving on with that sort of discomfort, seeing Ahsoka was an interesting experience because the action, I guess, it felt like Clone Wars.
Yeah, it did. Felt like I got that feeling, definitely.
Her performance really brought about like the movements and gestures that she does, like the way she walks or like where she crosses her arms. And like another thing the article mentioned was that she had blue contacts to like color her eyes, and it like really sort of helped her like get into the character. And her voice, I feel like her voice, it feels like a live action version of that. I don't know.
Yeah,
in addition to like that she's like an older woman. You know, it feels like a maturation of the character.
Even though that in Rebels she has still a higher voice, I feel like it makes sense. I really like that her voice is a little bit deeper than it was like in the Clone Wars and everything, because I think it makes more sense for her to be like grown and like just like out there. Is like she's different than she was, right? She's not the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't make her look and sound the exact same.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So with animation and live action, any sort of adaptation, there's going to be some sort of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so with her Leku is one point of contention that we both had that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to stay mad about it, but it's something that like that we wish sort of they could have worked around to make it more of a one-to-one thing. And the thing is, her Leku are much shorter than her adult version in Rebels. And if you don't know what Leku are, they're just sort of the weird, like, mix between horns and
hair.
And, well, they look like hair, I guess, like in terms of how it complements their face. But it's like a horn, tentacle type of thing that hangs from the head of Togruta, which are Ahsoka's species.
Yeah,
and so
if you look at the original trilogy, Shaak-Ti has
prequel trilogy.
Yeah, sorry, the prequel trilogy. Shaak-Ti has them very far down, like almost to her knees. Hers are.
It's a sort of a known fact that adult Togruta have longer Leku.
Yeah,
and we've seen that before with Ahsoka, but in this one, where Ahsoka's like roughly almost 10 years older than she was in Rebels.
They're shorter than they were in Rebels.
Yeah, they're like about. I mean, they're almost. I think they're shorter than her Clone Wars season 7.
Yeah, they're about the same size, I think, as Clone Wars season 7, which we both were discussing. Like, at first, I didn't even notice until someone mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, that's a little weird, because like they're supposed to be really long as adults, and she's like almost 40 something.
Yeah.
Now, so like she should have like very long.
I don't know. I don't want to get too mad about it, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be mad about it like after we stop talking about this, but because it doesn't matter really.
Especially because the filmmaking, like the crew they're very committed to making everything as practical as possible, and if they did longer Leku, they would probably be less durable, and they would move in ways that they didn't want them to in the action scenes, and they didn't want to compromise any of their methods by doing it CGI. And I mean, I've heard from like cosplayers that build their own Leku that like they have similar problems with the longer version, and so the Vanity Fair article sort of explained that they had to like mount it to the back of her head. They didn't really go into the length. Like, that's one of those like. They covered some controversial stuff in the article, but it sort of slipped by.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for whatever reason, practical filmmaking, they just couldn't do it in a way that made sense.
Listen, I'm not going to be mad about it after we finish this podcast. Like, it ultimately doesn't matter. I only care about how she's used and like the actual like story. I don't really, in the grand scheme of things, I don't care how long her freaking Leku are, you know? But it's also a thing that like Dave Filoni made her, and so you would think that he would take that into consideration, but I also understand practical filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that all this had to come together, and, you know, it makes sense in the end. Like,
if you've seen the memes of, like, both Clone Wars series, people have made, like, these little pictures where they edit Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen's faces to look like the cartoon versions. Yeah. It looks weird. And same thing with, like, Count Dooku, like, trying to make the Clone Wars face version of Christopher Lee, and it looks weird because it's like this box face with like these weird angular features that it wouldn't make sense to do that, and so that's an argument against the against the people who don't like the short Leku. But for me, it's like, it's not a style difference, it's just what the species is.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to do them like Shaak-Ti's were practical, weren't they?
Yeah, but again,
but she also wasn't doing like action sequences. Yeah, she was so also she only shows up in like one scene in the prequels.
It's not even in the movie.
Oh, it's not. So she never even made it in the movie.
No, you didn't know that?
I thought she had at least one scene. No, she's on the council in one scene, isn't she?
Yeah. So
there is one scene with her in it.
The most
but she's sitting in a chair.
The most fully canon stuff that she's had is in Clone Wars, as the overseer of the Clone Army. Anyway, we're getting off topic. We're kind of taking too much time on one little subject.
That's fine.
But okay, so the overall story of this episode, we always talk about the different styles of episodes, whether it's like a very plot driven sort of story that changes a lot of things about where the season is going, or if it's just sort of a fun side mission. We've had a lot of mixture with the season, whereas the first season, the first three were about this changing where the story's going, and then the three in between were adventures that sort of rotated in with different supporting characters, and then the final two was just a big finale.
I would say this was in the middle.
Yeah, the season has really woven in between those sort of things. And because of the bigger budget, I guess they're able to do basically a new environment every time.
Mm-hmm.
And so every episode is equally important, but it's still frustrating people in the way of we're just going to this planet to help these people, and then he's going to go to this next spot.
There are so many memes on TikTok right now of Mando coming in and going, "Hi, I need you to help me take this child back to his kind." All right, cool, but can you come help me defeat this thing that's about to destroy our village? Sure. Are you going to try to kill me on the way? Absolutely. There's so many, because that's what most of these episodes have been. Is it's been Mando going and helping people and then almost get killed.
Yeah, which I don't, unless the episode is bad. I judge things episode by episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so unless I have a problem with the episode itself, I don't have a problem with the season structure.
No, I'm fine. I love it.
And something I was texting you and our friends about on our group chat was that the people who hate the episodic nature of the show, it's like if peasants during the Middle Ages were hearing stories about King Arthur, and they were just like, "Hey, speed it up! Let's get to the Grail, all right? I'm tired of these little missions in the forest. I got things to do." If it's that sort of impatience that every single thing is important, no matter how action packed it is. It's always gonna be worth exploring for the characters. And yeah, I had another joke where it was can we just I forgot it. Never mind. Let's move on. Edit that part out.
It's all good. No.
No, it was yes, I have gangrene. Yes, the worst part of my life is that Lancelot's story isn't progressing fast enough. We exist.
Yes, we exist. So you want to just kind of go into what we think? We've kind of talked about what we think about our first reactions of Ahsoka, but let's talk about what our first reactions are about Grogu's past. And we finally figure out his backstory, or do you want to go there yet?
That was my thing to preface the thing that I was.
Okay. What was your thing you were prefacing?
So all that to say is that I like that this episode sort of, not only was it a new self-contained, story about overcoming this particular threat, but we sort of dropped into the middle of this conflict, and before we even resumed Mando's story, it just felt like we were trapped on this hell planet, and it was just cool to, I don't know, this was one of the cooler examples of this, one of those episodes that starts on something that we haven't seen before. Yeah,
I very much liked it. I did not think that's how they were going to introduce Ahsoka. I figured that he would get there before we saw Ahsoka. I did not think we were going to get full Ahsoka action scene first thing. I said out loud, I was like, wait, is this how they're going to introduce Ahsoka? This is going to be epic. And then it happened, and it was really cool. And I very much enjoyed it. And since I'd never seen Rebels, I never knew about the thing where she puts the hilts of her lightsabers together and then pulls outwards. I didn't know about that, and so when she did it, I was really confused. And then I've been watching Rebels, and she does it a lot, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. Is it a special thing, or is it just it's just finesse, or because if she doesn't pull out fast enough, then she's gonna chop her hands off.
I don't know the technology. I know that in her novel, that she had one white lightsaber, and then she grabbed an Inquisitor's lightsaber and healed the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
That and like turned it white, but I don't know like exactly why they've sort of like blend together. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just like a thing that she likes to do because she thinks it looks cool.
Yeah,
You
I
never
don't know
know.
if it's like special to her lightsabers or if that's what anyone can do, and like she's just the one that figured it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it would be weird because then you would think they would like clank off each other or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Who knows? It's not really important.
Maybe they're like sister crystals. Like maybe they came from the same place.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it depends on if she replaced them after the thing that I mentioned with the book. But like, I don't know, something where like the crystals have some like weird force relationship.
That makes sense to me.
As far as Star Wars can ever make sense, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, because everything in space is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there are no bras in space, as George Lucas always said.
Did he really?
You don't know this?
No, I didn't know about that.
This is okay. I once showed you that like series of like interviews with Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
On Craig Ferguson, and she's like hilarious. Like I think you need to see a little bit more stuff with Carrie Fisher because she like criticized that about George Lucas, and it's.
Did he not let her wear one?
No, in A New Hope, I mean.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, there's a lot of. I mean, it was in the Empire of Dreams doc, but I feel like you're not as familiar with the mythology of Carrie Fisher.
I'm definitely not because, I forgot how weird Carrie Fisher got in like her older years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's funny. The only thing I've really seen of Carrie Fisher are the Craig Ferguson, are her interviews. That's like it. So yeah, is that all you had for that section? And so I don't like interrupt your mojo again.
I still have some first reaction stuff.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
So I like the forest planet. It's not really something we've seen before with forest planets in Star Wars. It's all dead.
I was about to say, yeah, it's kind of been burned.
A lot of wildfire. I don't think it's fully wildfires. It's more like pollution and.
I would also have a feeling that it was on purpose. I bet the Empire burned the entire planet, other than like that one city.
I don't know how imperial it is. Oh, actually, we see some wildfires from the. There's a shot of the planet from space.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You can see some fire. But yeah, whatever Morgan Elsbeth's faction is, I don't know how connected to Moff Gideon it is, or Thrawn, or if it has anything to do with the beginnings of the First Order. But whatever that is, it doesn't even have to be branded as Empire. As we talk about in like The Last Jedi, it's like there's always just people exploiting planets for their own gain. And so seeing that was cool. And also like we've seen dead planets that are like, you know, they're covered with lava, or it's just like barren rock, or it's a desert planet like Tatooine. But the fact that this was like, it felt like it's transitioning into a fully dead planet, or like there's some nature still surviving. You got like the moss on the rocks where Ahsoka is, like that was still like beautiful, but mostly it's just like dying, and it's like it's coming into this like really dark place.
I like it whenever you finish something, and sometimes you think I'm gonna stop the recording, and then I don't, and then you do like funny little dance moves. That's a little behind the scenes for you guys.
You're not keeping that in. Shut up.
I'm totally gonna forget to go back and edit this video, so you have no idea. So if you want me to talk about my first reactions, well, I think we've kind of gotten them from me, like just reacting to yours. But the fact that I love this episode, and I love that, like, not only is it, like, a little one-off episode, like, almost, but, like, it's got its own, like, small little storyline that's, like, not super important to the main plot, I guess, but it's also got, like, the main plot, and we're getting, like, backstory for Baby Yoda, which is what everyone's been wondering since episode 1. Now, we still don't know where he, like, really came from, but we know, like, kind of where he came from. And I'm very excited to talk about that, if you're ready, as of now, to talk about that.
They could have generated just as much mystery with this character if they would have made him a little E.T. And then they wouldn't have to deal with all this weird Yoda speculation and Yaddle erasure and all that stuff. Just make him a little E.T., you know what I mean?
Because E.T. is in Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah. And instead of like a little ball on the ship, it would just be a Reese's Pieces.
Was it Reese's that E.T. liked?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that movie in forever. I don't remember.
Last time you probably watched it was with me.
I think it was, yeah. It was with you. Which was like a year and a half ago, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, for those of you who didn't watch the episode,
See, that was me trying to throw you off. Just like when you cut off my like long essays,
yeah,
I tried to interrupt you with jokes.
it's fine. I still remember because I'm ADD and my mind can go in fourth places. For those of you who didn't watch, Baby Yoda's real name is Grogu. He grew up in the Jedi Temple.
Baby Grogs.
Baby Grogs. He grew up in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, where he was trained as a youngling. And then during Order 66, some Jedi hid him away so that he would not be found and killed. Probably by Anakin. And yeah, he's been hiding out ever since. And he doesn't have a really good memory, so he kind of forgets everything after that.
Or he represses it.
Or yeah, that too. Have you seen all of the things that are accusing Baby Yoda for Anakin killing all the younglings?
The only thing I've seen was there's this still from Revenge of the Sith where Anakin is on a couch looking at like an iPad sort of thing.
He's like, Grogu, you've always been nice to me. Don't come to the temple tomorrow.
It was like a text message. It was like from Grogu, and it said, "I lived, bitch."
My favorite one is it said it was Anakin, that same scene when he's looking on the tablet, and it says Grogu, you've always been nice to me. Don't come to the temple tomorrow. Which is a terrible joke. But there's a lot of like speculation that Anakin, since Palpatine had like the list of Force sensitive children, he knew that Grogu was like very, very powerful and might.
Did he?
Did he have it I know he had it at one point. Did he already have it by the end of the Revenge of the Sith?
You're talking about the holocron heist episode from Clone Wars? I was gonna bring this up.
Yeah.
That's where Sidious, and we actually see Sidious in this episode, where he's trying to steal Force sensitive children. Yeah, he might have a list, but those children were rescued. But
yeah.
I think he might have still.
Because
it's a holocron heist. I'm assuming if that means that they stole the holocrons.
I don't know.
We need to watch this again. This is one of those like sleeper good episodes from season 1 of Clone Wars.
I love that episode. But either way, he might possibly have a list of Force sensitive children, or Anakin could have easily gone and gotten it while he was like at the Jedi Temple, probably. Who knows? Either way, there's speculation that they found out that Grogu was like extremely powerful in the Force, and that he may one day be as powerful as Yoda.
That's not in the text.
What do you mean?
That wasn't said in this episode.
No. I'm saying there's speculation that possibly Anakin figured out about it, or Palpatine figured out about it, and that's why Anakin went to the younglings.
My opinion
was
is
to get Grogu, and then he just killed the youngling.
My opinion is that Yoda isn't any more powerful naturally than any other person. He just has less mortality. Yeah. And he has time to perfect himself.
I can see that.
Even when he did sort of perfect himself, he was still kind of sucky during the Clone Wars and didn't really reach his full potential until he failed and the Jedi Order was destroyed. Yeah.
But anyway, there's people blaming Grogu for the killing of the younglings, saying that Anakin was actually there for Grogu, but since the other younglings were there, he just like was like, okay, kill you two. But I'm just like, he was gonna kill everybody anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. He was gonna kill all the younglings, whether Grogu was there or not. I am just interested in who the Jedi is. I'm kind of intrigued. That saved Grogu.
Oh, I thought you said like the Jedi of like the title of this episode.
Yeah, who was that, Christian? Do you think
pretty sure it was Ahsoka Tano.
Ashoka. Who's your first off, what did you think of the backstory? Do you think it was needed, or did you like the backstory? Do you wish it was different?
I'll get into this later, but yeah, I didn't need Coruscant mentioned. I'm not sure if that's really necessary. In terms of the training, I never interpreted it this way, but some people think that like him being trained sort of takes away from the earlier episodes this season where he's being a toddler and he's doing bad things because he's a toddler, and people are like, well, if he was trained, then that means he knows what he's doing when he's doing a bad thing. But that gets into, well, what does training mean for a kid like him? Yeah. So I asked you this. Did I ask you this on Friday? Because in that case, I would have been spoiling.
Oh no, you
It was
didn't spoil
Saturday.
anything for me.
Okay, so I interpret this training as just giving him toys to test his instincts
Yeah.
and like taking him into a garden so that he can sense the life all around him. Like I don't think he was communicating or being talked to in an extensive way, and so I don't think it's legitimate training that he's sort of repressed. So I think you can still interpret that as a way of like he was like a kid in the Clone Wars. We saw like these like a little Rodian baby who was floating his toys. I think it was that extent, and you can have both. That he's had experience using the Force on a regular basis, and he's a toddler who is hungry, so he wants some eggs.
Yeah, absolutely. So who do you think the Jedi is that saved him, or do you think it's just gonna be a random Jedi that we've never heard? Like, do you want it to be? I know you and I are both got people who really are not fans of fan service for no reason. Would you like it to be a Jedi we've seen before, or would you rather it be, like some just random Jedi and we never know who it is because it doesn't matter?
I hope it is. What's his name? He's in Clone Wars as the like detective Jedi who helps Ahsoka retrieve her lightsaber. He's got a cane lightsaber, and he's
the old guy. Heck yeah.
That guy is cool. If Yaddle is still alive,
yeah,
that would be cool. Because I mean, it's entirely possible that Yoda and Yaddle had an attachments-free entanglement and had a baby.
Okay, so I was gonna bring this up because I did research this. There is a side rule in the Jedi that this was given for Ki-Adi-Mundi, he was allowed to have a child because his species was going extinct, and so the Jedi allowed him to mate.
Well, here's the thing though, is that they've had to. It's easy to assume that the Jedi are celibate, but that's not what they mean. It's like even in the prequels, you can see that it's more about attachments and like that sort of selfish love, if you could call it that, where like romance is not good because it attaches you so much to a person that you would do irrational things that could upset balance of the Force, which obviously I think, in my opinion, love is it's actually a good thing. Like we've refuted that in our discussion of prequels in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But even like in the Master and Apprentice novel by Claudia Gray, it's about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan before the Phantom Menace. There's a Jedi named Rael Averross that Qui-Gon is friends with, and he's got a similar vibe of taking the Jedi Order loosely.
Yeah.
But even within that, he was still like he wasn't breaking a rule by hooking up with people because he did not attach himself to those people.
Yeah.
He did not, and he did not get into relationships that like, in the Jedi Order's mind, would cloud his judgment or whatever, because he didn't see it that way. He just sort of had sex, and so even if Yoda's species on whatever planet they are like super plentiful and they keep to themselves, I'm picturing like in Ice Age where it's like Sloth, Sid meets his kind, but they're just separated from everywhere else.
Yeah,
like a planet of Yodas, and like they don't even have to be endangered, but like Yoda and Yaddle could just be like, hey, we're both pretty. I mean, why not? Like,
yeah.
It's like, listen, you're not my type, but we're the only one on this planet. We're the only ones who left our planet, so why not have a kid?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible that this is Yoda and Yaddle's baby. Even if you think that, like, Jedi can't have attachments, like, Ki-Adi-Mundi was allowed to do it, so yeah, I have a feeling that the Jedi would be like, okay, Yoda, you two are literally the only two we've ever seen. But you guys can procreate.
Like, there's so many things going on with canon that, like, seeks to answer these little questions. I don't really want this question answered.
You mean who his parents are?
Yeah. I think they should go old school, go full on 1980s on us, the way Star Wars originally was, where you just had to think about stuff, and
for a really long time, and we'll get it like 6 years from now.
But not get it. Just move on with your life.
Oh, okay.
But for a little bit, be like, this is how Yoda impregnated Yaddle, or Yaddle impregnated Yoda. We don't know how the species works.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think the Mandalorian show is ever going to answer this part of it.
Oh, I don't either.
I mean, for Yaddle's sake, I kind of wish that she had some sort of story in a comic or Forces of Destiny.
It's crazy that she doesn't, because like people have really like latched on to me like, well, Yaddle's there too.
Yeah.
So the fact that she doesn't have her own like spin-off comic book run or something is kind of, that's surprising to me. I kind of want one.
Yeah.
Because she's.
But even a comic would feel like a relegation, because people don't really read Star Wars comics. They just they're meant to be released, and then like clickbait articles will run stories about them, and that's how most people digest that information.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I would rather see a Yaddle movie than a Yoda movie, because we know Yoda's story.
Yeah, I agree.
We knew how Yoda sort of helped Luke in the original trilogy, and we saw his self before that in the prequels, but Yaddle's the only one that's not been seen. Again, it's another thing where, like, do we have to keep making stories about pre-existing characters?
No.
But, like, Yaddle's just weird enough to where I want to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I agree. And maybe then we get a name for this species. I got really afraid that, like, Ahsoka might name drop a species. Because, like, maybe other people know the name of the species, but, like, it was just never said. Because no one's ever going to go, hey, you know Yoda, that blank, you know, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was really worried when Ahsoka was talking about Grogu that she was going to be like, I've never seen another blah. Like, this is an offline. I was like, that's not the way to reveal that at all.
We're doing a lot of... I don't want to stray from this topic yet at all. But I will say, like, this is funny that we're sort of straying on, like, just hyperfixating on Yoda.
Heck yeah.
But, like... Off the dome, I think, first of all, I don't want them to name the species, but second off, I think it would be cool if the way that Yoda species refers to themselves is like a communal term that's not even a scientific term. So, like, in the Alphabet Squadron books, there is this character named Will Lark, I think is his name. He is from a planet that has a scientific name that other people refer to as that. And it's like, because just navigationally it has its own identity. Yeah. But his culture refers to it as home.
That's cool.
And, like, they ride dragons. There's a lot of cool things about that culture. And, like, it gets, like, ruined by the Empire almost. And there's, like, a cool, like, religion sort of code that they live by. But, yeah, it's just home. And they're so connected as a community in the mountains and stuff like that. It's really cool. So, like, if Yoda's species or culture was like that, or, like, not to say that they're anti-science, but, like, if it's something that is, like, it's, like, beyond science, where it's not about their classification biologically.
Yeah.
It's just, like, we're friends, or we're the gathering, or something like that.
I like that a lot.
Like, that would feel substantive, rather than, ooh, here's an answer. You want the species name? Well, here it is.
Yeah, the best way that I could see them doing this, if they had to name it in this TV show, if they had to name it,
which they won't.
The best way to do it would be...
Actually, they could, because Dr. Pershing's still alive.
Yeah, they could. But I think the best way to do it would be to name drop the species before we see them. Wow, that was a really weird audio thing. It's fine. I think the best way for them to do it would be to name drop the species before we see them. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what you mean.
So basically what I mean is, like, if a character goes like, hey, go and meet my friend blank, he's a blank. You know what I'm saying? So, like, something like, go to this and meet this blank. And then Mando's like, what the heck is this? And then he meets them, and it's Yoda species. And, like, you don't know that it's gonna be them, but you get the name before you see who it is. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, I'm thinking of Minch was the word that Yoda was gonna be called, and when they were writing Empire Strikes Back. Maybe they're Minches. Is that? I think that's the word. It was like, it went from, like, Minch to Minch Yoda, and then to just Yoda.
Yeah.
And to Kermit, back to Yoda. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I totally think it's, like, possible for Dr. Cushing to, like, drop the name of the species at some point. That's probably how they're going to do it, but it also to be way too on the nose. Unless they find it in like another like hollow, whatever journal that he sends to Moff Gideon or something. But yeah, I don't need I don't need the species name drop, but yeah, I don't know. It'd be wow, audio crazy. But
Audio crazy.
But it'd be cool if we got it. Maybe if it's done okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was gonna say about the Jedi. There have been more people going nuts and being like, it's Mace Windu. He survived the fall, and he was the first person to know that Sidious was a Sith Lord, and so he went in to save Grogu. No. That's all I have to say. I'm really tired of people trying to get Mace Windu back in Star Wars. He had his time.
Yeah.
He had his time. We don't want him back.
If Samuel L. Jackson was that attached to the character, he should have returned to voice him in the Clone Wars.
Exactly. If he wanted to do it, he would have come back.
Well, then again, he wants the bag. Anyway,
I don't know,
to quickly finish up our first reactions, I liked the sort of ironic. The ironic sort of story thing about Mando being sent to kill Ahsoka, even though he's looking for her for guidance.
Yeah.
We'll get into criticisms in a little bit where I think that was mishandled a little bit, but the initial feeling of like, oh, he's not supposed to be killing her, but he's going, and he's, I don't know, that initially that conflict felt really cool, and then at the end of the episode, the parallel action of Morgan and Ahsoka fighting, and just the loud sound design of the clashing spear and lightsabers, and then like the cutting back and forth between that and the showdown with is he Marshal Lang, something Lang?
I don't honestly know.
General Lang, played by Michael Biehn, who's in one of the Terminator movies.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in some westerns as well, but it felt like it was like on one side it was a samurai showdown, and on the other it was a western showdown.
Yeah, I told Katie
and
while we were watching.
One was noisy and energetic, and the other one was still and quiet.
I told Katie while we were watching, I was like, we're finally getting the quick draw that we wanted in episode 1, and she's like, he's putting down his weapon. I was like, nah, we're getting a quick draw, and she's like, I doubt it. And then he quick draw. I was like, I should have bet money on it, man.
Yeah, and even I like the dialogue of like, we're not so different, you and me. That's all. I mean, that's a classic fun thing to do with Star Wars.
Yeah. Because most of the time they're right.
Yeah, and it reminded me of DJ, in The Last Jedi. And in addition to like the environment being taken for capitalistic gain by the Empire sort of people,
mm-hmm.
that's related to Canto Bight in Last Jedi, but also DJ being like, hey, we're ultimately just trying to serve ourselves, and we shouldn't care about.
We shouldn't care about our audio jacking up like this. Yeah, you said we shouldn't care about helping something like that.
Yeah, and so Lang just trying to calm down Mando.
Yeah.
So that he could have time to think of a way to attack him. It was just really cool. I don't know. And then I had some weird sort of in my notes I say obligatory Mando shot first joke, second season in a row.
Yeah.
Because he shot first in episode 5, chapter 5 last season against Toro Calican. May he rest in power.
But like that's his thing though. Mando shoots first. Like
and from my notes, my thing is that we should stop that phrase.
I think so too, because it was overused in the 70s. It's gonna be overused now.
Or not? It was more the 90s when the special editions came out.
Oh, that's right.
George reversed it.
Yeah.
Other reactions. Okay. In relation to Ahsoka saying, "Where's your master? Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" My notes are, "Be Thrawn? Cool. Why?"
Well, you seem to have a very negative reaction to Thrawn being dropped whenever you texted me.
Yeah, because I don't think it serves the episode very much. I think it's just like a teaser. Like, if you didn't already think that Ahsoka's in here just to sort of tease her spinoff show, whatever capacity that may fill, this definitely solidifies it, because there's no way like Mando relates to Grand Admiral Thrawn at all. Like that's I mean, there might be some connective tissue with this show, but it's not this season. It's not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to be hearing about Thrawn. And even if you are going to mention him, you could have just said Thrawn.
Yeah.
You don't have to give him respect,
I will say, for our listeners, I know nothing about Thrawn.
Yeah.
I have not watched Rebels to the point where he's even in the show. I know he's blue, and he looks like a buff Smurf.
Inside joke that's not going to make the podcast. He'll look better once he's blue.
Yeah, he will.
Oh no, this is much worse.
Yeah, he looks like a small Smurf, or like a big Smurf. I mean,
he doesn't feel like a Smurf.
No, but he doesn't feel like a Smurf. But yeah, I know nothing about him.
Did you get my Beyonce joke though?
Yeah.
You know that GIF of the girl saying, "Beyonce"?
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Yeah. I want to talk about the end fight scene, because there's something in it that I didn't notice, but I saw it on a TikTok. And I think it's awesome. Can I talk about it?
Wait, did Kesha predict the plot of this episode?
I don't know why.
'Cause her hit song TikTok, were you listening back to it and like it was like, oh, Baby Yoda's name is Grogu, and you're like, oh, that's what that lyric means.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. It's actually during. So one of the criticisms that I saw on TikTok and on other like articles and stuff that people had written is that Ahsoka doesn't fight with her like signature style with like backwards lightsabers.
That's how she wins though.
Yeah.
She switches.
What I saw is that once she loses one lightsaber, she then switches, and
immediately Morgan backs up.
The guy brought up the fact that this could mean two things. One, Ahsoka wasn't really trying to kill her, because she doesn't. She wants information. She doesn't want to kill her, right? So if she's not trying the way that she knows how to kill, she's not trying to like really have to fight. But as soon as she switches, she's like, okay, I'm having to try now, because like, or now it's real, you know. But also, Morgan could like then possibly recognize her stance and recognize who she really is. Maybe that was brought up. I think less on that.
That's projecting our fan knowledge onto characters.
Yeah, exactly. I feel less about that, but I do think that Ahsoka wasn't really trying until she lost the one lightsaber, and then it was like, okay, signature style, I'm trying now.
Well, didn't in the Siege of Mandalore against Maul, didn't she still outstretch her arms at certain points to block?
Yeah, at certain
points. Like swung forward. Like it wasn't all using her backwards. Style.
No, whenever
like, especially since it's a spear and it can poke. Even though she wasn't fully using it to poke, like I feel like she was using the stance that would, with two lightsabers, would benefit her against a spear.
Yeah, but she also used it for the whole episode. She did that for the whole episode, even against like blaster fire.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think it matters in the long run.
I don't know.
I just really liked the fight scene.
She was mostly on the defense in the end scene, and there was like a standstill where they were just sort of staring off, and the moment she like turns her lightsaber around, it sort of signaled to Morgan that she had momentum in the position that she was, and like Morgan immediately backed up, and like Ahsoka was on the offense, and she just like ended it. So that's cool. I don't know.
I love that in fight scene.
Lightsaber action. Let's go. Star Wars is the coolest show ever.
So you thought the end scene was too much?
No, I just get sort of bored talking about action.
Oh, I thought it was good. Like, there's not a lot to say about it other than it was like really good. It was a very well done fight scene. Like you said, it takes a lot of stuff from like the prequels and the Clone Wars, all the different styles we kind of see throughout this episode with Ahsoka, and I really liked it. And yeah, the standoff. What other notes do you have over there, my guy, with your 3 pages of notes?
Okay, so we're getting to the critiques. Some of them I'm deciding to leave out because I didn't really flesh them out enough.
Yeah.
But the general spirit is that the thing I dislike about the story of this episode is that Mando sort of took a backseat, and we weren't really feeling things through him in terms of the action. Like we're not like making choices with him.
Yeah.
It's like we're more just like we're on his side when he's like interpreting Baby Yoda, but that's not. He's not. We're not. He's not like doing. He's not driving the stuff forward in like choices, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a sort of a thing explained, but I didn't really. I wasn't confident in my opinion. But it's sort of like is that he basically is the basic thing is that he was like sort of passive, and the focus was more on Ahsoka.
Yeah, I see
that. He was just sort of reacting to stuff. And should I just read something or?
Yeah, just read it. Go for it.
Okay, it's long. So we've said in the past 1 or 2 episodes that we predicted that Ahsoka would be in a dark place.
Yep.
And it's weird because even though I wanted that and I predicted that, I also at the same time was kind of thinking that she would be in her white costume. That I'm sure you're familiar with the image, just hasn't.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten to that point in Rebels. But so yeah, I wanted her to be this dark figure, and I was not against her being in a tough, confusing state of mind. But I guess just not in this way, and not. And if I wanted that, but I'm not sure I wanted that when she's being a guide to Mando. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, essentially, just you know the image of her in the white costume.
Mm-hmm.
That's referred to as Ahsoka the White. Sort of like Gandalf.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just sort of spoiler-free knowledge. So my opinion was that if she's gonna be a guide to Din, I would rather see her in the white form, because it's more of a not accomplished, but like sort of self-actualized version of herself. Like she knows what her purpose is, and she's sort of guiding him to his next step. So it's weird that she's in the middle of this dark spot, when Din is as well, where like the only thing she's offering is knowledge about Baby Yoda, but I feel like they're in the same spot maturity wise, you know?
Yeah.
Or she's more mature as a person, but like I feel like they're just as confused about what they're doing. Like he's just sort of like, I know my general thing is that I uphold my code and help others and protect this little kid. And with Ahsoka, she's like, my thing is I protect people who are being oppressed. But they haven't sort of like come at the other end of that.
Yeah, I really agree with that, because I was expecting if she was gonna be in a dark place like we were predicting, that maybe he would be the one to bring her out of that dark place, maybe to be like, hey, like if I can like leave what I was doing to like fight against this, then I feel like you could do that as well, because you used to fight against this. Mm-hmm. So it's not that much of a difference, right? So yeah, I definitely felt like he was going to be the one that was not as dark if she was going to be dark, or that it was going to be like you say, she's the one helping him out in the long run, instead of, you know, them just being the same.
Are you going to fix it?
No, I was just going to let you keep going.
Okay. So I think the way that Ahsoka's presented is there's some sort of deep reason with Dave Filoni, and that he has this secret plan of how to deal with her story post Rebels.
Listen, trust the process.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. So what I'm basically saying is that I'm not super thrilled about that, but I'm also just accepting that the answers will come, and if that means that I have to sort of dislike one episode of The Mandalorian, then that's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And I have a short hot take. This episode could have been a 2-parter.
I like her. Like, have it be longer?
Yeah, so I was thinking that we weren't going to confront Morgan until the next episode. That's just what my feelings were. I thought we were going to really sit with Ahsoka and Mando, and have them more involved with each other. And here's where I come with the criticism. They don't have nearly enough conflict in this episode.
No.
To where, like, I really dislike that. I feel like they're resolved immediately. First of all, it's weird that she attacks him first, because I feel like that's not really. Yeah, I guess it's sort of the Anakin. She's more on the Anakin side, but even.
But how would she know that he's out to get her?
I mean, I guess he looks like
Quote,
a hunter. and so it's she wants to get an advantage, but like.
But she likes Mandalorians. She's always fought alongside Mandalorians, so that doesn't make sense.
Regardless of what we think is the right thing she should have done, I think they should have spent more time with that, because there's just something more that you could go with that. I just don't like that it's over so quickly, and then she immediately goes from the confrontation to, oh, let's talk about Baby Yoda. Let's go to this part of the episode now. You know?
Yeah, it felt a little choppy.
Yeah. And so essentially their conflict with this episode, there's sort of two parts of it, but they don't feel connected. It's like the first part is they're strangers and they have weapons, and one of them might be trying to kill the other.
Yeah.
So that gets over with. And then later the conflict is, what do we do with Baby Yoda? But then it's like that we reach a deal before they go into the city, and then Ahsoka comes around to a sort of middle ground between letting Mando keep him and training him, which I like the conclusion she comes to. We'll talk a little bit later about the Seeing Stone.
Yeah.
Like, I like that that's where she comes, but like, I'm not sure I wanted an arc from her in this episode. I feel like she should have been more, as again, I think she could have been a mentor, more of a stable figure that like shifts Mando.
Yeah, I agree. That was what I was really hoping for. That's what we talked about. You know, she was gonna be in her cool tree house, right? And hey, she was in a tree, so we were half right. She stalked him in a tree.
Did she?
Yeah, before she attacked him, she was sitting up in a tree.
Did we see that in a shot?
Yeah.
I thought that was just an owl.
No, that was her.
We saw her.
Yeah, it was a close up on her in a tree.
I swear that's not in there. I've seen it 3 times. I swear that's not in there.
Or did she just drop out of a tree? I swear I thought she was in a tree.
No, you're capping.
Wow, okay, never mind. Forget what I said. Continue on. Apparently I have no clue what I'm talking about.
So, this is the part of my notes where I'm really getting onto something. Later, I'm sort of losing it, but that's because I'm not a professional screenwriter. So this is
you okay.
This is a little insight I have. We know that the connection between Ahsoka and Din is Grogu, because Mando's on a quest to return Grogu to the Jedi. Jedi knew Yoda. Apparently not Yaddle, but that's okay. So that they have a connecting thing with Grogu. We know that Grogu is becoming more curious and independent, like with the past few episodes. He's very adventurous, and he's trying to do more things, I guess, being more of a person, I guess. We're seeing him less of a creature and more of as a personal character. And we know that that Din is growing in his attachment to Grogu. It's more than just, I've got to uphold the code in a better way. He's like,
Space Dad.
Yeah, he's becoming more acknowledging of his fatherly relationship. So yeah, he's got this more personal relationship, and he's doing more than just fighting off bounty hunters or killing creatures to protect him. You know?
Yeah.
It's like getting him food and spending time with him.
We see more of defeating.
And teaching him how to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
all these like little things that's growing their bond. And so the idea that I got out of those 3 points that I just made is just a pitch for a little alternate version of this episode. We did this a little bit last week where I pitched a different scene with Baby Yoda in the school.
Yeah.
So basically what I got is, to show his independence, Grogu just sort of gets lost in the woods when Mando's searching for Ahsoka. He goes chasing after either a frog, or he sees like crumbs or animal remains, or he sees a fruit in the distance. That'd be a nice little like Garden of Eden thing if he's like chasing something that symbolizes like knowledge and, you know, becoming more of a person, I guess. So he gets lost. And Mando freaks out and he loses him. Like, he legitimately cannot find him. And Mando goes off and he like faces maybe a monster in the way, and it's like he's getting further away from the child. Ooh, I just said the child. Who calls him the child?
You apparently.
So and Mando, he's like, get the child. He's my son, but I don't have a name for him.
Now he does.
Yes, now he does, because more things have been released.
So
anyway, Baby Yoda, he comes across. Maybe he almost falls off a cliff, or he encounters some predator, and Ahsoka saves him. And I see. I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not as much of an expert on Star Wars as Dave Filoni. So bear with me. I'm just sort of broad strokes describing stuff here. But I'm thinking of Ahsoka as this very different character. As like, if you're gonna have her in this dark, more like wandering sort of spirit vibe, just go all for it.
Yeah.
You know, if she's not the wise Ahsoka the White who like is at peace, then have her like this weird witch is what I'm thinking. Who maybe she has even more face paint or like tattoos, lots of cloaks, a lot of billowing cloaks, you know, and just sort of like this weird, like ominous thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she has like she's covered in like dirt or like little smoky eye. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the makeup term that I know.
the one.
Yeah. And so she saves him, and she just sort of bonds with him. Obviously, it's sort of a similar thing that we see in this episode. A similar bond. A little bit less explained through dialogue, but maybe a name or not I know you, but like like something that communicates that he was in the Jedi Temple or. So,
yeah. I don't know the
I don't
best.
even need that necessarily, but like.
I don't know the best way.
Or just her saying Yoda and him reacting to that, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how to write in her knowing that he was in the Jedi Temple unless you
use Yoda.
Oh, unless you literally just say he was in the Jedi Temple. Like I don't know another way to like effectively communicate.
Or they could communicate through drawings. Wait, what have I seen that from? I've seen that in it's from the Alphabet Squadron book. There's a character who's masked. She's not a Mandalorian, but she doesn't speak, and she has a mask, and she told the story of her people through drawing in the sand.
That's cool.
Dude, I'm telling you, you should read Alphabet Squadron. So they could maybe do that, even though I don't think Grogu's smart enough to draw.
Yeah.
But like, I'm getting ahead of myself. Something that shows their connection, and like. Essentially, what I would want is that Ahsoka she would want to claim him, and that she would like take him and like, that she would have more of a drawn out fight with Mando, that would feel more personal, and us as viewers would be pulled in so many different directions because it would be something that would mean so much to Ahsoka that we'd want that for her, that she would want to take him, as this person that she relates to. And something that she can strive to protect and connect with. But also, obviously, Mando is his father. But also, Mando wants him to sort of be with her because she's a Jedi, and that'll give him answers. But also, he doesn't want that.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
There's only a few of these like actual actions that I'm thinking of, and everything else is just sort of feelings. Feelings that I wanted to feel with this episode that I didn't.
Definitely.
And so the episode, the way it was, explored attachments, but it was through training, and I don't think I needed to see training in this episode, because I don't think like Mando's quest was not to be involved in the training or to make sure that Grogu was like progressing in his abilities.
No, it was just to make sure that
he needed a home.
Yeah,
you know, and I mean it's cute that we see him caring about that because that means he's that much more connected to him.
Well, this brought up the main problem that I had with the episode after first watching. Well,
you haven't seen it more than once, so.
Well, after first reaction.
Yeah.
Which I think I told to you.
Just like as the credits are rolling, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was like, wait, why is Ahsoka afraid of attachments? Because we see in Clone Wars, she leaves the Jedi Order because she doesn't agree with all of the things that, you know, the Jedi, all the rules, and the fact that they will like just turn on someone if they have any evidence against them.
Upholding the bureaucracy rather than
and one thing that she was always very adamant on is that she was like, why can we not have attachments? Like, right? Like because she always formed really, like whenever she was helping a group of like insurgents or something, whenever she was helping Saw Gerrera and them, like she formed really strong attachments, and like Anakin and Obi-Wan were like, hey, don't do that. She's like, why? Like, why can I not do this? And so...
Well, but Anakin, too, he was a more extreme version of her. Like, she was like the middle ground between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah, exactly.
And she would, like, she could pattern herself like Obi-Wan, but she also related to Anakin and could explain how he's like where he's coming from.
Yeah. And so like at first I was like, why in the world is she afraid of attachments? Because she was so like against the fact that you shouldn't have attachments in Clone Wars and everything like that. But then it hit me that was before she knew that Anakin turned into Darth Vader. And I think everything changed for her when she realized what Anakin became. And she may have found out like why he became that way. And then she kind of switched. Because she says, I've seen what attachments can do to a full trained Jedi. And that's the line that made me realize why she thinks that now.
Yeah, and I think she's still coming from it's not like a reversal of her character. It's just a little bit not fully explained, and that she didn't revert back to the teachings of the Jedi. She's just still in a spot where she can't get past her trauma with Anakin.
Exactly.
And so she's motivated by not wanting her or anyone else to experience that pain.
Which she knows that the reason that he joined the dark side was because he had that attachment with Padme, and he was told that, hey, if you join this, you can save her from dying. Mm-hmm. And that attachment is ultimately what pushed him over the edge. And so she's like, hey, if that's what did it to him, and he was like one of the strongest Jedi ever, what could happen to anybody else?
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's similar to like Ahsoka knew about Anakin being removed from his mother, and that's, you know, as we talked about with Phantom Menace, that's the original sin of the Star Wars trilogy or the Star Wars saga. Yeah. She has that connection with Anakin. She doesn't want to repeat that with Baby Yoda, Grogu. Similar to how Luke saw, like, he saw Obi-Wan lie to him, and he knew that Obi-Wan failed with Anakin, and so when it came to Ben Solo, Luke, you know, the shame of having to lie to Ben Solo and do what Obi-Wan did to him, and also fail to be able to train that powerful of a kid. That was his trauma, and that's what caused his rejection of Jedi teachings. And he just did
exactly what Obi-Wan did. We went into hiding because he.
But like even worse, because he knew that he still could. He had the ability to help.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan didn't really stand a chance. So anyway, we're getting. That's just sort of to connect the threads. Like that's where Ahsoka is at this point.
Yeah. I think the only other thing we really have to talk about is what's. I mean, like.
I'm not done with my hypothetical.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, it's basically done.
Okay.
But I was saying is that like, my different version, where it's more personal with Ahsoka and Din, and that if this was a two-parter, we wouldn't deal with Morgan Elsbeth until like the very end of this one, and then dive into that full length the next episode, and maybe it would be like 2 30-minute episodes,
yeah,
or 2 40-minute ones, or like a 45 and like a 30, something like that.
Either way,
I'm not making a show, and I never will. So,
hey, don't say that.
No, I'm not gonna make episode 5 of season 2 of it.
Oh, I thought you meant you're never gonna make a show, and I was like, don't say it. You want to be a director.
But so like the way the attachments would be dealt with would be more about Baby Yoda, in terms of just that personal thing rather than like training. I feel like it was just like such a weird rush to be like, oh, this is about training, when it's about. I feel like it's more about being a father, being a son, finding a home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, and with Din, it would, I don't know, it's something to do with him like verbally confronting that he's a father, more than just these little moments, like him just being like, you know, why not just give him a monologue, you know, let him get some lines. Like I'm sure people are frustrated that he doesn't speak that much. I've been frustrated with that before. Yeah. Like let him just like really reflect. Let him take off his mask. You know, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That's actually, that's weird. That's the thing I was missing from my notes, is that he would take off his mask and he would just sort of look at Baby Yoda.
He almost did when they were eating soup.
Yeah.
Last episode.
I mean, like, really, I think they could have made this, like, the breaking, not the breaking point. Like,
has Baby Yoda ever seen him without his mask? No. The only thing that's ever seen him is IG-11.
Yeah. And so, And also with Ahsoka is that like the thing with it is that like she would not be what Din expected her to be. She's just like which character, and he's like I thought I mean I knew you were a sorcerer, but I thought you were more of like this noble warrior. And why are you like so fueled by sadness that you're just like this weird lady trying to take my kid? That's, by the way, that's my kid. Like, hand him over.
Yeah.
So like, and just sort of like as they resolve their conflict and sort of get to know each other, it'd be like peeling back the layers of her crazy veneer, like with Yoda and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because he's this weird. He's like obviously not. This guy's not a Jedi. He's like this little guy. He's obviously not powerful. And then we see that he's got some wise things to say, and that he's insightful. And then later, he's powerful. He lifts the X-wing, and then he's knowledgeable of how Luke can handle his fear. Anyway, so that's how Ahsoka would be treated.
I like your hypothetical.
In terms of Din, and then I don't know, something just more explicitly like this is why Din needs Baby Yoda. This is why Baby Yoda needs Din.
Yeah.
I didn't full out do like plot points, but that's how I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel more pulled in that direction and more like complex feelings about how do we feel about Ahsoka, how we feel about Din in these like weird spaces.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only thing that we can really talk about with these last few minutes that we have is speculation and about what's next. Like, we know he's going to planet name?
Titan.
Thank you. To be put on this rock, so that he can reach out with the Force and maybe have a Jedi come and train him. We know that's I think we can guess that a Jedi is gonna come. We're gonna get another Jedi at some point, because there's no way that they're gonna it's like, hey, if you do this, a Jedi might come, and then just not give you a Jedi, right?
Well, I feel like
even if it's Ahsoka again, even if it's just Ahsoka again.
Ahsoka alluded to that sort of coming in time. Like, it's not like an immediate answer.
Yeah.
But
what I want to talk about is which Jedi we think it might be, based on which ones are alive at the time of this that we know of.
Well, I don't want to spoil Rebels.
That's fine. I know who lives in Rebels.
But okay, so Ezra.
So we have Ezra. We have
Ahsoka.
Kanan.
That's okay. Luke.
Cal Kestis.
I don't give a crap about him.
Why not? He's canon.
I don't care.
He's actually the one that a lot of people are saying it might be. Because we don't know anything else that he's doing during this time.
No, well, okay. So there's evidence for Ezra because we know that they're planting seeds for Thrawn and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And that I'm not going to spoil it for you. And this is probably awkward for anyone who either hasn't seen Rebels and they're on your side, or they have seen Rebels and they're on my side. And
I know that Ezra and Thrawn have this crazy battle at the end of Rebels. I know that.
Yeah, and so there's something that's yet to be filled in there. And if that's dealt with in the show, then that could be a possibility. Also, there's an actor, he was in Haunting of Bly Manor, who a few months back tweeted something regarding Ezra. I have no idea if he was teasing that he's Ezra or if he's just like trying to get clout. But he was like this sort of not very popular actor, but he did some Ezra related tweets, and then people started following him, and it's sort of this like weird connection with fans where like they talk about Ezra. I don't know if it's a fan casting or not, but they talk about Ezra and the Mandalorian. He reacts to it weekly. And I still don't know if he's not confirmed as anything, but I still don't know if he's like playing him or not.
So because of the Thrawn
of it all.
Yeah, I think it's either gonna be Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka is a definite one that could happen because she realizes maybe I should do this and goes right. Or I can see Ezra because of the Thrawn thing.
So yeah, okay. So you're coming at it from these are the puzzle pieces. And this is the hole in the puzzle that we could possibly fill it with.
Yes.
I'm coming at it from a perspective of what is the story of Mando, of Din, and his relationship with Baby Yoda, of Grogs. And it's another hypothetical where I'm seeing a scene in my head, but it's also like I just feel like this is naturally where the story's going, and I see Baby Yoda looking into the distance of I'm picturing like mountains, and he's like looking into a mountain range.
Yeah.
And I think he just turns around and runs to Mando and embraces him. Like I feel like that's the choice.
I like
he
that.
chooses Din.
Yeah.
Especially because like I think it would be boring if he was like, and then we like see a cutaway to like a Jedi, like whether they're a pre-existing character or anything, like just anything that's like that feels unsatisfying. Like I think it just feels so natural for him to just be like Dada, you know. So, I don't know if he says something, but like I feel like he needs to make that choice.
He just closes his eyes and goes, "Father," right to Din.
Your son is dead.
But yeah,
Can I have a cold brew coffee?
I like your
please. No cream. Hazelnut. Fuck. Have you seen that TikTok?
No, I've not. You'll
it's
show
the
it to
guy
me
that
afterwards.
does Adam Driver impressions.
Oh, okay. I like your idea about him just going to Din instead of like another Jedi coming.
And just it's yet to be proven that a kid can practice the Force without needing to be taught by a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like.
Exactly.
Like I feel like if not Ahsoka, or just I don't know, Mando could just get a little handbook and just be like, I'm gonna make sure he does this every day. I think he'd do pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Jamal Murray learned how to be a great point guard by playing in a parking lot of a motel in Canada. He didn't have like an NBA player training him. I don't know his full story, but I'm pretty sure he just worked out near a hotel or something like that.
Well, I also think that you really need to go into Cal Kestis because he's pretty cool.
I thought about bringing it up last week because during the siege that Imperial base, I was like, is that from Fallen Order? Because the base looked familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any insight on that?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I don't think it is. But
it wasn't fun when I watched the Battlefront 2 cutscenes.
Well, Battlefront 2 sucks. It's because it's also not canon.
No, it's canon.
Battlefront 2 is not. Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
University of Story is canon.
Well, anyway, Battlefront.
Actually, it was not just cutscenes; it was like full on levels.
Yeah. Well, I will say that
I like the characters. It just wasn't. I think just because it was a video game, it just wasn't very impactful for me.
Well, from what I've seen of Battlefront 2, the Fallen Order is so much better. I have it, and if you wanted to come and play it during break, we'd do that. But you need to learn more about Cal Kestis.
I'd rather play Squadrons.
I'm getting it for Christmas. We're going to play it. And we might do an episode about Squadrons. Or we might do it on the YouTube channel. Who knows? We'll do something. But it's going to be fun. Is that all we have for this episode, though?
No, let's keep going. Let's keep extrapolating things for the end of this season.
Alright, this will be a longer episode. Let's do it.
Alright.
What are you thinking?
Let's talk about Moff Gideon.
Heck yeah.
I think... Oh, no. Let's go to Moff Gideon later because that's end of season. Let's go next week.
Yeah.
What are we getting next week?
One-off episode.
Yeah, that's what my theory was too. I think this is going to be directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Has he done one yet?
No.
So, yeah, probably.
So, remind me from our preview episode, the directors announced. How many were there?
4. No.
In addition to the people we already, every season.
We had Favreau, Filoni,
Dallas Howard. Weathers.
And there was
Peyton Reed.
Peyton Reed, and there's one more.
And Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. So, yeah, this will probably be his episode, because the last 2 are going to be Favreau. Almost guaranteed.
We don't know that, though.
Probably.
Favreau didn't do 2 last year.
Well, he did... Which ones did he do this season? Episode 1?
He did episode 1.
Did he do episode 2?
That was Peyton Reed.
That's right.
Anyway, I was seeing discussion about this on Twitter, and essentially what it is that I don't think there's going to be a repeat director, and there's a missing slot. Well, actually, maybe I'm losing my theory here, but
I have a feeling that either Favreau...
I think Favreau's going to repeat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Either Favreau or
But I don't
Filoni
think
have to come
Favreau's-
back for Ahsoka purposes.
I think Ahsoka's done for the season.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think Filoni... For the fact that Ahsoka demands so much care, I feel like Filoni only did that episode this year. And that I don't think Favreau would have done 3 out of 8 episodes. So I think he's only returning for one, and there's a missing slot. Get ready for it.
Are you about to guess a director that we haven't been announced?
And I think it's for a good purpose. I think George Lucas directed one of these episodes.
Because he's been on set every single day.
Not every day.
Well,
but
most.
He's visited set.
Yeah. Holy crap. That would be epic.
I talked about this with Charlotte from Sky Talkers. Like we just sort of had the brief conversation on Twitter where I dropped that George Lucas idea and she was like, I had the same idea, but I don't want to put too much into it because I don't want you to be disappointed.
Oh,
but,
no,
like,
I don't want to get my hopes up, but you just got my hopes up.
But just think about it. Think about like episode 7 or 8, which could possibly be one of the best Mando episodes ever, and at the end it's da-da, and it's directed by George Lucas.
Stop getting my hopes up, Christian, because if it doesn't happen, I'm going to get so mad.
Hey, it's going to be still hilarious if it's like totally not true, but I think it's funny.
That would be...
Yeah, he visited the set for this week's episode, and they talked about it in the Vanity
Yeah,
Fair
and he said that he and Dave,
article.
he loved Ahsoka in this episode, apparently. Like, he was in love with it, because Rosario Dawson posted something about how George Lucas and Filoni were, like, saying that this was their dreams coming true, was this episode.
And also, the picture that Favreau released last spring, it's a very blurry, bad picture of him holding Grogu.
Yeah.
That is from this episode, and apparently, like, just to the right, Rosario Dawson was standing in her costume.
Nice.
But also, I think it's because they're like it's all just like sets, and so it doesn't mean that like one thing in the background means it's like they're all sort of working together. But like in the background, I think there was an Imperial set with like it was like triangle windows.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't mean anything. It's just a behind the scenes thing. But also, I think it's possible that George came up with Grogu as a name.
That would be cool.
Either he did it or Filoni came up with it as a tribute to George because the letters are very similar.
Okay, I know that we're definitely two people who are like, directors are great, but they can't make a series. Like, if they're coming in midway through a series, they can't always make it great. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say like a series was bad. This kind of series is different though. But I think George Lucas, man, if he were to get his hands on an episode, I think it would be the best episode of The Mandalorian. Like, yeah. And now you got me excited, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to kind of be upset. Dude, that would be so epic. Do you think he'd make a cameo? No. He's already made one.
I think he would be thrilled about using the technology.
Yeah.
That like his everything he's been doing with ILM like in the 90s and 2000s like or even in the original trilogy, like he was envisioning a time where we could do all this digital stuff.
Heck yeah.
And so I feel like he would want to do it just for one last ride, just sort of learn, in a weird way, learn from Favreau. It would be a weird thing for Favreau for him to be like teaching George Lucas something about.
Can you imagine teaching George Lucas how to make a TV show?
Yeah, like
that's about something that he created in 1977.
But I'm seeing that he would just like really love to harness the volume, I guess. Also, I don't know if we talked about this last week on the podcast, but the gallery series about behind the scenes stuff.
We didn't talk about it on the podcast.
That's dropping in December this year.
Yeah, but it's only like the beginning, or is it all?
It's probably still week to week, but I think they're doing that to answer questions. Like we'll get to it. We'll get to our end of the season predictions later, but there could be something where it's like a cliffhanger and they want to get something out of the way, or like absolve people of pain, maybe, because it could be a dark ending.
Yeah.
I know that contradicts my theory of that of turning and hugging Mando, but we could have both.
Do you think that that Baby Yoda would ever get removed from this series?
No.
I don't either. I was saying.
Monster.
I don't.
You monster.
I didn't say you would.
Anyway, but I think the gallery, and I don't know. I feel like maybe they got the ball rolling so well with production for Disney Plus that they're gonna be able to do that every year, and maybe it was just a sort of a technicality that made the gallery series come out as late as it did last season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like there could be just a fun reason, and like they would want to cover the George Lucas stuff right away. Maybe I don't know.
Because no one would know it's George Lucas either. No one would know until like the end, until it says like directed by George Lucas.
Yeah. And I will forgive them for letting the Ahsoka news slip or the Bo-Katan or Boba Fett's news slip.
If they can do George Lucas with no one knowing,
Yeah.
I will forgive anything that they have ever
except
done.
for Tross. Obviously, they let Reddit leak the entire plot to Tross.
Oh yeah, I don't care about that. But if George Lucas,
this show leaking all these characters, but not George Lucas, that's
if George Lucas can direct something and no one figures out about it, and I do not care what got leaked.
Yeah.
I don't care. They
all
saved the best part.
yeah. Okay,
man.
but yeah, that's the mystery 7th or 8th episode. I think Robert Rodriguez is definitely doing the 6th episode, which I've texted you off air that like I think this is going to be the last little fun romp, a la The Prisoner, a la any of these like side missions that like season 2 obviously is a little bit muddy where everything feels like a side mission and an important revelatory thing at the same time. I feel like this is going to be fun, and it's going to be with bounty hunters because I think Fennec Shand and Mayfeld. I know Mayfeld's coming back, but I think Fennec Shand's coming back.
I think so too. I think I predicted that Fennec would come back via Moff Gideon in some way.
Yeah, so like maybe it'll be a fun genre thing where like that's what I mean. I was talking to you, but like it's not necessarily going to feel less important or like unimportant or unintegral to the plot.
Yeah.
But the way it's going to be made, it's going to be genre inspired or just like really there's an angle to it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think Robert Rodriguez. That's why you get Robert Rodriguez, the director of I forget the westerns that he made, but he I feel such like a bad film fan for not knowing the names.
It's fine.
But he did those movies. That's how his start came about, and then he did some like westerns with Quentin Tarantino, and then he did Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Heck yeah.
Like he's got just such a weird sense of fun that I think that's exactly what we're getting next week. But at the same time, connecting to the greater threat, and that maybe Moff Gideon sends Mayfeld and other bounty hunters to find Mandalorian, and Fennec Shand is part of that. And that would explain the thing from last season where what we think is Moff Gideon, a caped individual, comes approaching her assumed dead body.
Yeah. Last question about George Lucas. If he did it, do you think he would do 7 or do you think he would do the finale? I would love for him to do the finale.
I don't know.
But I can see how they wouldn't give him the finale, or he wouldn't want to do the finale because he wouldn't want to feel like he was going to mess it up.
I think that all of that would be filming like back to back anyway. Like it's all just sort of a big. Like they're definitely connected, like a one big episode, like with last season.
Yeah.
At least that's my thought. Maybe they're connecting 6 and 7. That's a possibility. But it could just be like they're treating 7 and 8 like a long or like a short movie, long episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you get that. And if you George Lucas did most of his work on 7, so he gets the credit for 7. He may have done some stuff for 8.
Yeah.
And they split credit.
Well, he's been on set so much more this season than he was.
We don't know specifics though.
We've gotten more rumors of him being on set this season than last season, so I feel like it would make sense if he does do one.
I feel like all it's amounted to is an Instagram pic each season.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, let's talk real quick about what we think with the end of the season of Moff Gideon. Because you have predicted multiple things. You've predicted that, one, he may be a Mandalorian.
Or an Inquisitor.
I've learned much more about Inquisitors this week.
Yeah.
Not really. I've always known they're just people who hunt Jedi and who sometimes can be stronger in the Force or sometimes not.
Mm-hmm.
But they all have the same lightsaber.
I don't know. I'm leaning towards Inquisitor, but even Inquisitor, well. I'm a little bit lessening on because like that would mean that I don't know, just the difference in portrayal for Inquisitors with him.
He doesn't act like an Inquisitor.
Yeah, like the Inquisitors were like very much beholden to their orders, and like they weren't the most cunning people or like the most organized leaders. Like they were just agents.
They almost seem like bounty hunters in a way for like the Empire. It seems like if the Empire were to fall, they would just go and do anything.
And that they pursued a target and used creative methods to fight.
Yeah.
Rather than just tactical point and shoot. Like they have a special weapon and they have to use their own individual style to fight.
They also multiple times were like, I will succeed where you failed because I will not do what you did. Right? To like Imperial leaders. Like
there was that part. They would talk down to any sort of smaller officer.
They hated him. They would be like, I will succeed where you fail because you suck. Basically.
Yeah. Because I'm better than you because I have the Force and a lightsaber, and all you have is like organizational skills.
Exactly, and so that's why I don't think he's an Inquisitor. Is because he definitely has the feel of an Imperial officer.
But there's definitely room for like him being that special one that sort of learned.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not against it.
Learned the ropes and learned how to sort of harness the ideology and the power dynamics.
Yeah, I'm definitely not against it.
I've done these bold predictions of like this is the possible connections that he makes, but he's Moff Gideon. Like he's who he is, and it's fun that he's that, and I'm fine with not explaining his backstory.
Yeah.
And just being like, I'm a really evil Imperial who has knowledge of culture, and yeah, I wanna make Force babies.
I think the Mandalorian one would be pretty epic too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything that would back up that theory other than he has the Darksaber somehow.
Honestly, anything that, regardless of his background, it involves hatred of the Jedi and hatred of Mandalorian heritage. So as long as they do something that feels horrifying and disgusting in the fact that he hates he's a xenophobe. He's a Nazi.
Yeah.
Who is enforcing this sort of hegemonic rule and hates these people groups and wants to subjugate them, use what they have for his own power. Like, whatever his background, he's doing those bad things, and that's impactful enough.
Yeah, I think so too. I like
little predictions. Okay, so you know how Filoni does a lot of weird Force things. You haven't gotten to the end of Rebels, but there's a lot of weird Force things that he does, right?
Are they good weird Force things?
Have you gotten to Twilight of the Apprentice?
No.
Darth Maul?
No.
You'll get there. But even like Mortis.
Are you talking about like Darth Maul in Rebels?
Yeah.
No.
But like Clone Wars, you got the Mortis arc, which is the father and son.
Yeah, I like that.
That stuff. A lot of George Lucas collaborating with Filoni to do these weird Force concepts.
Yeah.
I think there could be something, because we're assuming that Mando gets to Titan. And he's going into this Jedi temple. Anytime there's a Jedi temple in these animated shows, there's always weird stuff going on.
Weird Force stuff.
Now, I don't know if Mando is going to experience that or if Baby Yoda's going to be alone and experience that. Because Mando's not Force sensitive, so he might not sense things. What if he is, but we don't know. Shut up.
Just kidding.
I don't think he'll sense things, but he might encounter things that It's tough because they got to walk a fine line of not making the show feel too important to the greater galactic story. But
do they though? Because a lot of people watch this.
I don't want any sort of Force spirits or anything like that treat Mando like he is this important figure, because if he's not, I feel like he's important to Moff Gideon and that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like because
then it's like if he's super important, why have we not heard of him before?
If there's any contact with Force Ghost Yoda or the Bendu, which you'll get to, or just something weird visions, maybe it's just I don't know, something like that. I feel like it might be Baby Yoda's journey alone.
Mm-hmm.
I also had this weird idea of Baby Yoda just hopping dimensions / planets.
Okay.
I don't know the why of it, but I'm picturing a better version of Jack from Incredibles 2, where he's just I'm a baby, I'm having fun, and I'm on Mustafar, I'm on Coruscant. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just something like that.
All right.
I think there's a strong possibility of weird Force stuff in Episode 8, and that would be our argument for George Lucas directing that.
Yeah.
Because he has a
history with weird Force stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think
we're getting ahead of ourselves because it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, no. I definitely think this has been a really fun episode, and we could sit here and talk forever.
We had a nice little way of explaining our criticisms while still being imaginative, appreciative, and looking to the future.
Yeah, exactly.
There were parts of this past few days where I've been frustrated and sort of mad at Filoni in some ways, but ultimately I'm just trying to have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fun thing to do.
It is.
As long as I'm creatively engaging with this, that podcasting is a fun thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you who are going to listen next week, I will have probably finished Rebels by the time we film next week. I hopefully will. I'm going on a really long trip this weekend, so hopefully I can just watch it on the way there. But I'm very excited about the future of this season. Very excited to see like what happens. I think we're excited to see if George Lucas will direct an episode. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening to this episode. If you want to go reach us on socials, I am spncr.c on Instagram. Christian is Michigan Kriller. Or you can go follow the podcast at Last Star Wars Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want to go listen to us on YouTube, you can just find us on the Last Star Wars Podcast on YouTube. Do you have any cool fan theories? Because if you do, you should email us, laststarwarspod@gmail.com. We will read every single one of your emails on the air. If you, mostly because we haven't gotten a single one. But
also to find our page and see other Star Wars podcasts you might be interested in, go to starwarsnowthis.com. I think is the
it is starwarsnowthis.com,
which is short for now this is podcasting. And that'll aggregate a bunch of different shows, whether it's on Mandalorian or general Star Wars stuff.
The publisher of this, he's putting up new podcasts like every week. We know he listens to this, so thank you for listening. If you're listening to this, shout out to you. Really awesome guy running that page.
If this is somehow your introduction to Star Wars podcasting, which I think it's probably unlikely, but also likely for some people, I don't know. But if you want a gateway into other people who talk about Star Wars, who have different perspectives than us, I encourage you to check out the website.
Absolutely,
there's a lot of cool stuff there.
And it's easy to like find in your own like categories. Like if you want just TV shows, you can find them. If you want just movies, you can find them. And it's super easy, and it's such a great. I know we mentioned a few episodes ago that there was no search function. It is being added in. Apparently, nice. We've actually been DMing the guy who runs it recently, and within the last like week or two, he said that he was trying to add in a search feature so that we could add. It's easier to find podcasts that way. So that's really cool. So yeah, go check that out. Once again, thank you guys for listening to this episode of Mornings with the Mandalorian. We hope to see you back here next week. Goodbye.